But what if heaven was just getting started with you? What if the pain, the delay, the years of silence were not punishment, but preparation? You didn't miss your calling. You were being shaped for it, because the life of the chosen doesn't follow the path of the ordinary. It begins when the world says you're finished. It awakens when others say it's over. Maybe you've been overlooked, forgotten, dismissed by those who couldn't see what God had placed inside you. You've watched others rise while you remained in the shadows. But deep in your spirit, there's a voice whispering, "Hold on, you were not meant to start early, you were meant to start right." This is not the end of your story, this is the beginning of your divine season. And for the chosen, that season often begins at 40. Because God doesn't rush masterpieces. He refines them. He lets them be misunderstood, rejected, and delayed. So when the time comes, no one gets the credit but Him. You're not late, you're right on time. Watch closely, everything is about to make sense. There are seasons in life where everything feels like it's standing still, dreams delayed, prayers unanswered, doors closed. You look around and see others moving forward, achieving milestones, building families, careers, and ministries, while you sit in silence wondering if God has forgotten you. The nights grow long, the tears become familiar, and your heart quietly aches with the question, why not me? Why not now? But what you may not realize is that delay is not God's rejection, it is His preparation. God does not operate according to human timelines. He's not bound by age, culture, or social expectations. When it seems like everything is being withheld, God is actually working beneath the surface. You see, for the chosen ones, the journey is different. The greater the calling, the deeper the preparation. The longer the wait, the more powerful the destiny. The delay is not there to punish you. It is there to equip you for what others are not prepared to carry. There are some lessons only time can teach, lessons of humility, patience, endurance, and surrender. If your calling is meant to impact lives, shake foundations, or carry truth into dark places, then you cannot be rushed. You must be broken, refined, and emptied of self so that when the time comes, what flows through you is not your strength, but His. God allows the delays because He is more interested in your character than your comfort. He knows that if He blesses you too early, the weight of the calling could crush you. But if He allows the fire to shape you, the blessing will rest on your shoulders like a mantle of glory, not a burden of pride. The life of a chosen one does not begin in applause. It begins in the wilderness. Just like Moses, who spent 40 years in the palace and another 40 in the desert before his true calling began at 80. Just like Joseph, who was thrown into a pit in prison before reaching the palace. Just like David, who was anointed as a young boy but had to wait years before he ever sat on the throne. All of them experienced divine delay. Not because God was punishing them, but because He was preparing them to rule, to lead, to stand, to serve. When your life has been marked by delay, do not despise it. That waiting season is where God is doing His most sacred work. He's teaching you how to listen. He's forming your spirit in secret. He's stripping away everything you once relied on, so that when your moment comes, you will not be moved by praise or opposition. You will know that He alone placed you there, and that no man can take it away. You're not being punished, you're being preserved. While others are sprinting ahead, God is anchoring you deep. You've been misunderstood, overlooked, and even forgotten by people, but you've never left God's sight. The delay is His protection. He's keeping you from stepping into places your soul is not yet ready to handle. He's guarding the promise so that when the fullness of time comes, it will not just bless you, it will flow through you and bless generations. So when it feels like life hasn't started yet, when your age begins to whisper doubts into your ears, remember this: the chosen ones often begin later because their destiny is greater. The delay is not the end, it's the setup. It's the sacred ground where God is building the vessel for something eternal. Hold on. Your beginning hasn't been denied. It's simply being prepared by the hand of the Almighty. There is a moment in life when your eyes begin to open. Not just the eyes in your head, but the eyes of your spirit. You begin to see differently. You begin to feel differently. The same people, the same patterns, the same voices that once shaped you no longer have the same power. That moment for many chosen ones doesn't come at 20 or 30. It comes at 40. And it's not because something magical happens with age, but because by then you've walked through enough storms, survived enough betrayals, and wept enough silent tears to finally see through the illusions of this world and understand the deeper things of God. At 40, the noise begins to fade. The need to be validated by others slowly dies. The hunger to be seen by men is replaced with a deeper hunger to be known by God. There's a maturity that doesn't come from books or education. It comes from pain, from patience, from pressing through seasons that would have destroyed others. You begin to see your past differently, not as a series of mistakes, but as the sculpting hand of the potter shaping your soul for something far greater. You realize that the people who left you didn't break you, they refined you. The doors that were shut didn't stop you, they redirected you. The waiting wasn't wasted time, it was divine training. And because of all this, your spiritual sight becomes sharper, your ears more attuned to the whisper of the Holy Spirit, and your steps more aligned with God's purpose. You no longer chase after shallow things. You no longer entertain what once drained you. You know who you are now, not because people told you, but because you found yourself in the wilderness with God. There is something powerful about reaching a point where your identity is no longer built on achievements, appearance, or applause. At 40, many chosen ones finally break free from the expectations of others and step fully into the identity God always had for them. You don't need the stage. You don't need approval. You need only His presence, and that revelation changes everything. You now discern who is for you and who simply benefits from you. You recognize assignments over distractions. You are not moved by offense because you've been broken enough times to know what truly matters. You forgive quicker not because you're weak, but because you've learned that bitterness is too heavy to carry into destiny. You are no longer building your life on temporary things. You are now building on the eternal. This spiritual maturity is why God often waits until 40 to fully launch the chosen ones into their purpose. Before that, you might have carried too much ego, too many wounds, too much insecurity. But now, after walking through the fire, you are finally ready to lead with humility, to speak with wisdom, to love without fear. You are ready not because you feel strong, but because you know where your strength comes from. The world may have overlooked you in your younger years. You may have been the one who never quite fit in, never got the recognition, never saw the breakthrough. But now something is shifting. Something inside you has awakened. God has matured your sight. He has cleansed your vision. He has taught you not to look through the lens of pain or pride, but through the lens of purpose. And when that happens, when you begin to see clearly, you realize that everything you've endured was not just allowed by God, but used by Him. Every tear, every loss, every lonely season was heaven's way of drawing you deeper, stripping you of distractions and making you ready. 40, you don't just walk, you walk with authority. You speak with fire, you serve with purity. And you lead, not because you desire power, but because God has trusted you with it. Because now your sight has matured, and with mature vision comes divine purpose. There is a sacred truth that few speak of, but every chosen one eventually lives. Before God releases you into your purpose, He must first allow you to be broken. Not to harm you, but to purify you. Not to punish you, but to prepare you. The breaking is not a sign of abandonment, it is the evidence of divine preparation. Because destiny cannot rest on a foundation of pride, fear, or unhealed wounds. It must be built on surrender, humility, and unwavering faith. And that only comes through the fire. By the time the chosen one reaches 40, they have often lived through storms most people will never fully understand. You've tasted betrayal in its most bitter form. You've carried burdens in silence. You've fought battles in private while smiling in public. You've prayed prayers that were soaked in tears and still heard nothing in return. But it was never for nothing. Every moment of breaking had a purpose. Every shattered dream, every closed door, every sleepless night was heaven's way of molding the vessel to hold something greater. There's a reason why God doesn't rush the rise of a chosen one. A fragile heart can't carry heavy glory. An insecure soul can't steward divine authority. A person still ruled by emotions, bitterness, or ego cannot represent the kingdom fully. So God allows breaking to come first, not to reduce you, but to refine you. He removes the things you once depended on. He strips away false identities and exposes the areas in you that were built on anything other than Him. This is why the chosen often feel like their lives are moving backward while others surge ahead. It's not that God forgot you, it's that He's doing a deeper work in you. Others may reach platforms quickly, but if their character hasn't been tested, it won't last. You, on the other hand, have been formed in the quiet places in the wilderness where no one applauded you, where no one validated you, where you learned to hear only one voice, His. And because of that, when your time comes, you won't crumble, you'll stand. The life of a chosen one often begins at 40, because it takes time for God to undo what the world has done to you. It takes time to remove false beliefs, generational wounds, and internal fears. It takes time to heal, to grow, to become rooted in truth. And once that process is complete, once you've been through the fire and come out refined, God begins to raise you, not quickly but steadily, not for show but for purpose. And something happens in that rising. You begin to walk with a new strength. You don't speak from theory, you speak from experience. You don't offer shallow hope, you offer battle-tested faith. You become a light, not because life was easy, but because you didn't quit when it was hard. And that's what makes you usable in the hands of God. People often see the rise but not the breaking. They admire the anointing but don't know the crushing it took to carry it. They see the calling but not the cost. But you know, you lived it, you survived it. And because of that, you are no longer the same. The breaking didn't destroy you, it built you. It made you unshakable. It made you humble. It made you holy. So when God finally says, "And now," and He begins to open doors no man can shut, you will walk through them with grace. You will carry His presence not with pride but with awe, because you know where you came from. You know what it took. And you know that it was never about you. It was always about Him. This is why the life of the chosen begins at 40. Not because you were late, but because your preparation was deep, because your calling is great. And because your breaking has made you ready. The breaking didn't delay your destiny, it prepared you for it. At 40, your rise begins not from pride but from deep surrender. You're not starting late, you're starting right, with strength shaped by fire and a purpose birthed in God's perfect timing.